I put together this list because these techniques are time-tested, used by the pros, and are useful on every single build you tackle. We're not going to waste any time and just jump right into it. If you've ever hung any projects that you've put blood, sweat, and tears into, then you probably know what a stud finder is and why it's useless. Seriously though, these things are around 40 bucks a pop and are frequently inaccurate. But fret not, there's a much better and cheaper way. Grab yourself a set of rare earth magnets off Amazon for 10 bucks. This is going to be your new best friend when hanging anything in your house. All of the drywall in your house is secured to the studs with screws. So if you gently pass your magnet back and forth on your wall, you can locate a stud in no time. Once you find one, you know the next is going to be roughly 16 inches to the left or right, since that's the standard spacing of studs in most homes. If you're having trouble finding one, try starting off near an outlet. These are secured to your studs, so you know there has to be a stud on the immediate right or left of an outlet box. This technique will save you from drilling unnecessary holes in your walls and make hanging your projects a whole lot easier. And if you like tips that help prevent costly mistakes and damaged materials, stick around, because tip number 5 does exactly that. By the way, if you have a lath and plaster wall, then you don't have studs, and there's no hope for you. Bummer. My advice in that case would be to update your home. You are an idiot! If you're like most woodworkers and you're not an absolute pro with handsaws yet, this tip is going to save you a lot of frustration. When using a traditional Western style push saw, the hardest part of the cut is often getting it started. That's where a lot of newer woodworkers get stuck, or the saw chatters and doesn't track smoothly. Part of that comes down to technique, and that will improve with time. But until then, try filing off the first 2 to 3 teeth at the toe of your saw. What you're doing is creating a slight ramp that lets the saw ease into the wood instead of grabbing aggressively right away. That gives you a much smoother start and makes it easier to stay in your line. And if you look at many Japanese style pole saws, manufacturers already recognize this. A lot of them come with the back centimeter toothless for the exact same reason. It helps start the cut cleanly and smoothly. Spacers are an absolute must-have in any woodworking shop, especially if you plan on building drawers and cabinets. They make setting drawer fronts quick, easy, and consistent by helping you dial in reveals and getting clean gaps every time. Instead of guessing or fighting with measurements, you can simply drop in the spacer and know everything is aligned properly. They also come in clutch when installing built-in furniture, especially when you need to shim pieces to account for uneven walls, floors, or slight imperfections. Having a set of spacers on hand can save a ton of time during install and make the finished project look far more professional. This set ranges from 1/32 all the way up to 1/4 of an inch, so you've got the right size for everything from adjustments to larger gaps. Once you start using them, they'll become one of those shop tools you reach for constantly. By the way, all of the tools featured in this video will be linked in the description below if you want to pick up any for your shop. I didn't start using double-sided tape in my shop until I discovered how useful it was about a year ago. Now I use it all the time. Once I started doing more template work with my router, it quickly became one of those products I always keep within reach. I'll be honest, at first I was skeptical. I didn't trust the holding power and assumed it wouldn't be strong enough for real woodworking tasks. But trust me, the good stuff holds incredibly well. As long as your surface is clean and free of dust or debris, it creates a surprisingly strong bond that keeps parts locked in place while you're doing your work. It's strong. I've used it for attaching router templates, installing drawer fronts, and even as a work holding solution on the CNC. It's fast, clean, and saves time compared to clamps in a lot of situations. I keep at least one roll in the shop at all times because once you start using it, you realize how many problems it can solve. But if you think that saves time, wait until you see how tip number 6 completely changed the way I move through my shop. This next tip comes in handy anytime you're making a through hole. When you're drilling through material, if you don't have really good support on the opposite side of your drill bit, you're gonna get tear out, and it looks absolutely terrible. A great way to avoid that is by using a Forstner bit or a brad point bit. All you need to do is set the depth of cut to a point where the tip of the bit comes out but not the whole thing. Then drill out your hole. Then flip the piece over and you can place the point of the bit in the hole and finish out your cut with no tear out. Don't have a drill press? No problem. All you need to do to make this work with a hand drill is use some blue painter's tape to mark the depth of your cut. Then you can drill your hole in the same way until just the tip of the bit comes out on the opposite side. Flip it over and finish it up. Easy cheesy, lemon squeezy. If you step into a seasoned woodworker's shop, you'll notice one thing right away. Everything has purpose and every tool is positioned for efficiency. Their shops aren't set up randomly. They're designed to make work faster, smoother, and less exhausting. And this tip does exactly that. Set your jointer, planer, and table saw in the center of your shop because these machines are the backbone of most woodworking projects you're going to do. Instead of lining them against walls, arrange them in a circular workflow so as you finish using one machine, your next step naturally leads you right into the next one.
It's a circle.
Just joint your board, move straight to the planer, then head directly to the table saw without wasting time walking back and forth across the shop. This setup saves steps, keeps material moving efficiently, and helps keep you stay in a rhythm during a build. It may seem like a small adjustment, but smart layouts like this are exactly what separate beginner shops from pro-level workspaces. Paste wax is one of the most underrated products in any wood shop because it does more than just one job. It protects your cast iron tools, helps wood glide across machine surfaces, and can even be used as a simple finish for your projects. One can of this stuff can improve your tools, your workflow, and finish builds all at once. Used on cast iron, paste wax creates a barrier against moisture that helps prevent rust and keeps your expensive tools in top shape. Just apply it with a soft cloth using circular motions, let it dry to a light haze for about 30 minutes, then buff it clean. It's a quick habit that can add years to the life of your machines. If you've ever struggled pushing material through a machine, you're going to love this second use. Once paste wax is applied to your jointer, planer, table saw, or any other cast iron surface, boards will glide across the top with noticeably less resistance. It makes feeding stock smoother, easier, and more controlled. And finally, paste wax can be a fantastic finish for woodworking projects. Apply it in the same way, let it haze over, then buff it out. You'll be left with a soft sheen and a layer of protection that enhances the wood while keeping the finish natural and clean. Snipe is one of the most frustrating parts of using a planer, and unfortunately, it's something all woodworkers deal with. The most common fix is to leave your boards 8 to 10 inches longer than needed so you can trim the sniped ends later. But there's a smarter way to reduce waste. Feed your boards through the planer back to back with no gap in between them. This helps keep consistent pressure on the boards between the front and back rollers. Now the snipe is only going to occur on the very first leading edge and the final trailing edge when the boards are only supported by a single roller. And if you don't have a helper to keep the boards moving continuously, you can still get creative and do this on your own. Sandpaper is expensive, especially if you're buying Fez tool. I mean, I don't know if they put diamonds or platinum in their stuff, but it's a little ridiculous. It's one of those shop supplies that gets used constantly, and over time, that cost can really add up. So do yourself a favor and grab yourself a sandpaper abrasive cleaning stick. These things work by pulling out the wood dust, resin, pitch, and glue that clog up your sandpaper and kill its cutting power. And you'll be amazed at how well they work. It's like watching your sandpaper come back to life right in front of you. They're not going to eliminate the need to buy new sandpaper altogether, but they will absolutely extend the life of your discs, belts, and sheets. That means fewer replacements, better sanding performance, and more money in your pocket. I can't overstate how important it is to have a solid work holding system in your shop. It's something I put off in my own shop for years, And because of that, I was constantly jerry-rigging awkward setups just to hold pieces in place while I worked on them. Looking back, it definitely cost me both time and quality. Having a sturdy woodworking bench at the heart of your shop is a game changer, and a good assembly table is just as valuable. When your workspace is designed to secure material properly, everything becomes easier. Cutting, sanding, routing, joinery, all of it. There are plenty of great work holding options out there too. You got leg vices, face vices, end vices, boxing vices, dog holes, hold fast, T-track systems, vacuum clamps, and much more. The key is finding a setup that fits the kind of work you do. My advice is to invest in this early. A good work holding system gets used on every single project you build, and once you have it dialed in, you'll wonder how you ever worked without it. I hope you found these tips and tricks valuable. Speaking of which, if you're looking for some tips on how to build the ultimate crosscut sled, then check out this video where I talk about that very thing. And check out my shop too that has the plans for this sled available. Thanks for watching everyone. See you soon.